On the show this week, we drive the new BMW 3 Series. We have updates from the world of automobiles. And of course, we continue our trans-Canadian journey.
Another beautiful place and another new BMW. Now in its 7th generation, the 3 Series has become bigger, it's become more modern, and it's got a whole lot of new tech inside. Let's drive the car around these mountainous roads and the highways of this beautiful Algarve region of Portugal to find out what the car is like.
The 7th generation 3 Series is now a bigger car and it looks it. With a 44mm increase in wheelbase leading to a 76mm increase in length, the 3 has been given a total makeover. The car now looks modern with nice sculpted lines. The kidney grille is a take from the new 5 Series. And the full LED headlights, though still twins, have totally abandoned the Corona Ring DRLs and now have a small kink. The T-shaped air intakes on the bumper are a sporty addition and also incorporate the fog lamps. The bonnet is nicely sculpted and 3 prominent lines run along the sides, starting from the shoulder line on the top, which starts at the top of the wheel arch and ends with the tail lights, which itself is now slimmer and futuristic with a 3D effect. The famous Hofmeister kink has also been tampered with to give the profile a sportier look. Overall, the car does look sporty as it sits lower and has an aggressive front, sculpted surfaces and twin pipe exhausts. The interiors of the 3 Series are also totally new. The instrument panel moves to a 12.3-inch digital screen in keeping with the previous new models and incorporates the company's Live Cockpit Professional with OS 7 that gives a lot of flexibility and choice of not only the information but the way it looks as well. All the glass is acoustic and the sunroof is bigger. The center console has a heavy chrome treatment with the infotainment system screen now a good size 10.25 inches. The headlights panel has been changed and the steering wheel is new as well with reworked controls. Space inside seems more and there's comfortable seating for rear seat passengers as well, and the quality of craftsmanship seems to keep getting better. However, we dislike the heavy chrome treatment around the aircon vents and the switchgear in the center console. Just gives a look of a small area with heavy concentration of buttons. What we definitely liked though was the head-up display that's now huge and incorporates a lot of information. What we definitely liked was the numerous ways to interact with the car. The refreshed iDrive, the touchscreen infotainment display, the controls on the steering wheel, voice commands and gesture control were already there. Now there's also Siri, Google Assistant, Alexa type of artificial intelligence that you can interact with and get to perform a number of functions like setting up navigation or turning on heating or finding out the range. The diesel-engined 320D is powered by the same 4-cylinder twin-power turbo diesel engine as before, producing a max of 190 bhp and is par for the course with a top speed of 240 km per hour and a 0 to 100 kmph time of just over 7 seconds. What is best though is that the car is loaded with assistance systems and the car can nearly drive on its own.
BMW is launching the new 3 Series with 6 engine options to start with. But of course in India we won't get all 6 of them. The 2 that we are most likely to get are the 320d, the white car that we were driving earlier in the day, and this the 330i. These cars will also be available in BMW's normal trim levels. So this here with me is the M Sport version, the white one was the Sport version, and there will also be a luxury line with the fully body colored bumpers and not the chrome that we see on this car.
The engines will not make a difference to the looks of the car, but the trim level will and does. As one can see, the DRLs get a blue treatment and the bumper and air intakes are different. These differences will differentiate the luxury line from the Sport line and the M Sport variant.
So we are driving the 330i in the M Sport variant, and as you can see, the interiors are all brand new on this 7th generation 3 Series. The instrument panel has been taken from the X5. It is all digital and is totally configurable inside. You can have the navigation system or whatever else you want in the center space, and the touch screen for the infotainment system is also all new. Also again taken from the X5, but it has something totally new now. It has the BMW Assistant, like Apple Siri or like Google Assistant. There it goes. As soon as you say, hey BMW, it comes up with how it can help us with. You can ask it to do a number of things.
Hello.
And
what can I help you with?
maps.
Apps. Please continue with manual control.
So it can also tell you the status of the car, and of course there is the iDrive that you can use, that you're used to using, also the next generation iDrive.
This is where the sporty avatar of the new series really comes to the fore. The inline 4 engine produces 258 bhp and the car is a joy to drive. In sports mode, it not only drives well but sounds good too. The rev-happy engine and light engine means that the car is agile and has good performance figures. Hitting the 100 km/h mark from a standing start in under 6 seconds with a top speed restricted to 250 kmph. The ride quality is something that BMW has worked on for the new 3, and this is a car that can also be used for its rear seat, unlike in previous generations. The car that actually blew our breath away was the M340i X-Drive sedan, and we got an opportunity to drive a production prototype on the track in Portugal. It's powered by a new iteration of BMW's straight 6 engine that produces nearly 375 bhp and peak torque of 500 Nm. The car is still under development for Europe, so we drive the American spec version of the car and were totally blown away not only by the performance but how much fun the car is on the track. The car has nearly the same performance as the real M cars and is probably as much fun. Driving this car left us wondering what the new M3 will be able to do to better performance of this car.
So we continue to drive the M40i, the top of the line performance version of the new 3 Series on the track at Algarve. It's the Autodrome. It's a very up and down track, and this car is really fun to drive. You can switch off traction control, you can switch off DSC, and you can send most of the power to the rear wheels on this X-Drive, and its rear jumps out at the press of an accelerator, as you have seen in the footage that we've been driving around. And otherwise it's a very comfortable car to be in and can really double up both on the track and for daily driving.
Since the car was under camouflage, one could not make out if there was a difference in body panels, but for sure the air intakes and the air dam have been modified to account for the extra performance, and added the numerous M performance charts on the car means that the car is easily distinguishable.
So we've been driving the two 3 Series cars around the roads in Portugal for the last couple of days, and finally we've come to the Autodroma in Algarve to drive the top of the line, the Performance 340i M Sport spec'd out version, and that of course is a stunner with nearly 400 brake horsepower and traction going to all 4 wheels. But on the other hand, these two cars which will be coming to India first are step up above the normal 3 Series, both in terms of the tech inside, which has been taken from the X5, as well as in terms of the ride and handling.
Kawasaki launches the all-new Ninja ZX6R. Maruti Suzuki teases big new WagonR, and Toyota Supra makes a comeback. All that and more from the world of automobiles.
India Kawasaki announced the launch of the new Ninja ZX6R Super Sport motorcycle at a price of Rs 10.49 lakh. The pre-orders began in October last year, and customers who have already booked the motorcycle will start getting deliveries from next month. It's the only super sport motorcycle available in this segment right now in India, and is essentially the baby ZX10R, offering superior performance on the roads and more so on the racetrack. The Ninja ZX6R comes equipped with the Kawasaki Intelligent Anti-Lock Brake System, Kawasaki Traction Control and Kawasaki Quick Shifter. Power comes from a 636cc inline 4-cylinder engine that churns out 128 bhp and develops 70.5 Nm of peak torque. The motor comes mated to a 6-speed gearbox with revised gearing. We're just days away from the launch of the new gen Maruti Suzuki WagonR, and ahead of its official launch on January 23rd, the company has revealed bits of the car in its latest video. The video confirms that the new WagonR will be based on the company's versatile Heart-Ect platform, similar to the new Swift and Desire, and also gets a more powerful 1.2-litre petrol engine. The car has also grown in size and is now longer and wider, but is shorter in height. However, the car does come with longer wheelbase, which means it'll come with a roomier cabin. Visually, the new WagonR looks much nicer and premium now. The Toyota Supra has made a comeback after 17 years, and it looks as beautiful as it did all those years ago. Sure, there isn't much resemblance to the iconic Supra MK4, but the all-new model, whose design has been inspired by Calty's FT1 concept, is definitely a looker. It is the first ever model developed by Toyota Gazoo Racing in Japan, while also taking inputs from Toyota Motor North America and Toyota Europe. The long body with a low hood and that lovely retro-ish design with sweeping headlamps and the gaping air intakes flank the central grille section on either side.
In the second part of our Trans-Canadian expedition, we make stops at Canada's most cosmopolitan city, Toronto, the mighty Niagara Falls, and we drive along Lake Superior.
We've embarked on a monumental trip driving from the eastern part of Canada all the way to its west coast. Last week, we presented the first part of our journey starting in Quebec City and to Montreal and Ottawa. From Ottawa, we drove along the Trans-Canada Highway to Toronto. We continue our Trans-Canadian expedition as we head further west, driving across great roads, taking in the magnificent sights and visiting Canada's most iconic destinations. Toronto is the largest city in Canada by population, with around 2.7 million residents. It is a hub of business, finance, arts and trade, and is recognized as one of the most multicultural and cosmopolitan cities in the world. Downtown Toronto is home to an icon of Canada's skyline, the CN Tower. Among the tallest structures in the world, CN Tower is 1,815.3 feet high, equivalent to 147-story building. Elevators traveling at speeds of 22 kilometers per hour take visitors up to the observation deck. From here, you can treat your eyes to a splendid view of Toronto and its skyline.
No points for guessing what's behind me right now. These are the Niagara Falls. Today is a particularly cold day, but when the skies are clear, there are helicopter rides as well if you fancy those. This is definitely a must-visit place if you're coming to Canada. It's very close to Toronto, just 1.5 to 2 hours drive from there, and trust me, it's worth every penny. This is the place to be if you want to see something truly epic and truly unique.
There's about 2,400 cubic meters of water flowing over the edge every second. The falls drain Lake Erie into Lake Ontario via the Niagara River. American Falls, Bridal Veil Falls and the Canadian Horseshoe falls collectively from the Niagara Falls. Geological events dating back 10,000 years created the falls as well as the 5 Great Lakes. The journey behind the falls leads you to tunnels 150 feet beneath and let you go up close and personal with the might of the water flowing over each second. It's not just the visual, but the oral experience that makes an impression, courtesy the thunderous sound of water falling over the edge. And that's not all. Element on the Falls restaurant lets you enjoy the incredible view while enjoying fine food. Trust us, it rarely gets better than this. The North American continent houses the 5 Great Lakes, and we encountered the first of these at the quiet little town of Niagara on the lake, which sits on the shore of Lake Ontario. The charming town with its beautiful streets and inviting stores is famous for its wineries. Apart from the falls, the Niagara region, these wineries are a big draw for tourists. Among the best in the region is Chateau des Champs. Founded in 1978 by Paul Bosque, he planted Canada's first commercial vineyard dedicated exclusively to European varieties, something that had long been considered impossible in Canada's climate. The good folks at the winery gave us a tour of their facility, guiding us through the wine-making process followed by a sampling of some of their finest varieties of wines. It goes without saying that this was the best part of the tour. With the snow picking up and lights fading away, we decided to call it a day and head back to Toronto and gear up for a 7-hour drive to our next destination. Sault Ste. Marie. We made our way back to the Trans-Canada Highway just as Toronto's rush hour traffic was starting to build up. Once outside city limits, we were able to get a move on making steady progress towards our destination. 4 lanes became 2 as we trundled along through the beautiful landscapes with snow-covered trees and small lakes for company. The small town in Ontario with a population of just 75,000 sits on the banks of the St. Mary River between Lake Huron and Lake Superior. The bridge you see here over the river connects Sault Ste. Marie with the town of the same name on the other side of the border in Michigan, USA. The St. Mary River basically acts as a border between the 2 North American nations. After spending a couple of hours roaming the streets of Sault Ste. Marie, we headed back to the bank of the river just in time to catch the sunset. Next morning, before the sun could rise, we set off once again on the Trans-Canada Highway deeper into the heart of the country. Our route to Winnipeg, Manitoba turned out to be the most picturesque we'd ever encountered. For much of the drive, we had Lake Superior for company on our left. The largest of the 5 Great Lakes, Lake Superior is shared by Canada and the USA. It's the world's largest freshwater lake by surface area, covering 82,100 square kilometers, and the 3rd largest freshwater lake by volume. Together with the other 4, the Great Lakes account for 21% of the world's surface freshwater by volume. The sheer size of the lake needs to be seen to be believed. Lake aside, the road threw up spectacular views too. We would have kept at it, but the journey from Sault Ste. Marie to Winnipeg was a 14-hour one covering over 1,400 kilometers, so we had to get a move on. Winnipeg is almost the longitudinal center of Canada and also marks the completion of the first half of our Trans-Canadian expedition. Join us over the coming weeks as we head further west to the Canadian Rockies and on to the west coast, bringing you more scenic roads, stunning visuals, and a tour of the best places to visit in Canada.
On the show next week, we conclude our Trans-Canadian expedition on the west coast of Canada. So don't forget to tune in to Auto Today.